This is one of Caroline Emblem's favorite pastimes, and for a while, also therapy for a broken heart.
It was an escape of being in a milieu of people that didn't know my story. It was a wonderful way to get lost, perhaps.
And to forget for a few hours the tragedy that has struck her family. In 1982, Caroline's son Gordon committed suicide. 2 years later, another son, John, took his own life. Tell me a little, if you will, of Gordon and John.
Gordon and John were two wonderful sons. We had no idea, perhaps, of the struggle that they had. They were involved in sports, went to one of the greatest schools in Montreal, Loyola High School. They fitted into that scene very well, but what happened in their case, it's a mystery. There'll always be the emptiness.
A void many surviving families fill with guilt, often misplaced, that they may have missed a crucial sign of things to come.
There's a taboo about suicide. There's a hush of silence when one speaks of suicide. So not only have we lost a child, 2 children, we have to deal with what the death actually is surrounded by, something that has other connotations.
The sad reality is that more and more people are committing suicide, especially in Quebec. This province has the highest suicide rate in Canada. In 1995, over 1,400 Quebecers took their own lives, a shocking increase for a province which until the 1960s had the lowest rate in the country. So why the alarming rise in numbers? Or was there a rise? 40 years ago, there was such a stigma attached to suicide in Catholic society that many cases might easily have gone unreported. Some experts believe that suicide numbers aren't up very much at all. Others maintain, even argue, that the numbers are up, way up, and they further contend it has something to do with a social earthquake in the province called the Quiet Revolution.
You have to look at the fact that families were very big. Families were very rural, too. There were a lot more people in the country setting than in the city. There was religion, which played a huge factor. I'm not saying that we should necessarily go back to having 13 kids and go to church every Sunday, but we did lose something that we haven't replaced. You had the sense of community that we lost.
It was confusion and loneliness that led Julie Patty to try to take her own life at the age of 13.
I think in general it was just sort of real sort of teenage angst, and growing up I just sort of had a hard time dealing with things, I guess.
How long after your attempt was it before you decided that you wanted to live?
I guess I was about 15 or 16, and I just met a really good group of friends, and I finally felt like I fit in, and all of a sudden had people that I could talk to.
Discussion, talking about the hurt with other survivors of suicide, has also proven to be the key to Caroline's recovery.
In the milieu of a self-help group, we listen to the stories over and over again, and we find that in telling our story, we are healing ourselves.
Every year is so different, especially when you're growing up and you don't know what your life is going to be like a year from now or 2 years from now, and that it's just so important to hang in there and just keep looking towards the future, because there's always
something to hope
there's
for.
always something to hope for, yeah.
We must honor the happy days that once brightened our lives and eventually learn to let go. We move into a new life without forgetting the old one.
Words which may help comfort the thousands of families like Caroline's trying to come to grips with a sudden and often unexplained death.
Even as Christians around the world united today to celebrate Easter, their churches are being torn apart by an explosive issue: homosexuality. The latest uproar happened a few weeks ago when the Pope condemned a move to sanction same-sex marriage and adoption. But while furious debate rages in mainstream churches, a new institution has risen for gays and lesbians. In this CTV special report, Joy Malbon looks at a church where sexuality coexists with spirituality.
Sunday morning in downtown Toronto, 2 churches share the same block, the same faith, yet they share an uneasy relationship.
In a Catholic church, you know, it was put across that, God doesn't like homosexuals.
If that's what Christianity is, then forget it. I guess I will go to hell.
But in this church, not only does God like homosexuals, God accepts their lifestyle. And for Sherry and her lesbian partner, Twyla, this church, a gay church, has become a refuge, their spiritual home.
And we are the people of God. All are welcome to come and receive.
The role of our church is to say to people that what the church has said over the last couple of hundred years about homosexuality is wrong. The church has made a mistake.
Perhaps no other issue today cuts so deeply into the heart of Christianity than homosexuality. While most denominations accept gays and lesbians, many stop short of an open-armed embrace. As the Bible says, love the sinner, not the sin.
And that's whether it's homosexuality or fornication, adultery, whatever. All of these are destructive instincts.
By making these kinds of prejudicial statements, the old line denominations are alienating a lot of people.
One of the outsiders is Reverend James Ferry, a gay Anglican priest.
I don't feel fully welcome right now. I feel sort of tolerated.
Reverend Ferry was fired by his own bishop and stripped of all religious duties. Still, he refuses to abandon his church.
I'm hanging in there because I want them to change the way they're behaving. Start acting as though you really believe that the church is about justice and reconciliation.
But the road to reconciliation may be a long one. A few weeks ago, Pope John Paul condemned a move that would sanction homosexual marriages and adoption in many European countries. So sensitive is the issue, few in the Catholic Church will freely talk about it.
Gay and lesbian people are leaving the church in droves and having no faith community, no one to be there when they get sick, no one to be there to baptize their children, to bless their relationships, or even to bury them.
This is my body.
While the faithful search for a way out of this religious tug-of-war, this church remains a sort of spiritual oasis for those who once felt like outcasts in the eyes of God.
See these gifts as God's gifts.
Society has to come around and accept gays. I think for the church, once society does, then I think the church may follow.
As you receive these gifts, celebrate who you are and who you are for each other. Go now and see Jesus.
Joy Malbon, CTV News, Toronto.
It looks like any other day. Vivian Mitchell smiling, pouring coffee, checking in with customers.
When I came work, I'm so happy all the time. It's not a job for me. It's nice to come to see my friends.
Soon those friends will say goodbye. It's her last shift at their favorite restaurant.
I'm very sad because...
But we're going to see each other again.
Yes, I think we're going to see each other another place.
It's only au revoir.
If I find another place.
For 20 years, Bibiane's worked here at the historical Eaton's Dining Room on the 9th floor.
We're very grateful for her friendship and her services. She's a very lovely person.
Her customers span the generations. Some have dined here for 20 years, others for just a few.
Mrs. Mitchell's the waitress. She knows who wants decaf. She knows what, people want. You want the special quiche. You want, she knows that.
In a few short hours, the restaurant's doors will close for good, for the first time since 1931.
You work so many years in the place, you can't go just like that. So, I'm sad today.
Bibiane's just one case out of many. This dining room's full of Eaton's employees out of work. And like many of them, she's losing more than a job, she's losing a home.
When I wake up this morning, I feel to cry and I don't know what I'm going to do. When we see the people we love for the last time, that's hurt very much.
Heidi Westfield, Global News, Montreal. East of Montreal, in a postcard of rolling hills and waterfront, a high school teacher is making the world a smaller place.
Dear Mr. Damour, I wish to let you know that your message in a bottle has been found.
It started as a class project, a way to help his students learn to speak English.
My students live in Granby. and they will work in Granby. So they won't see much outside of the city. I wanted to prove to my student that English is spoken everywhere in the world.
He had each of them write messages that were put in bottles to be cast into the Atlantic Ocean.
I write my name and my address and my city and what I like.
5 questions to the people who receive the letter, and my favorite sport.
8 months later, the first answer from a fisherman in a small village in Denmark.
I was amazed because I thought that it's gonna take at least 5 years before we get an answer.
Then 3 more arrived from as far away as Bermuda and Scotland's Orkney Islands. But it was a response from closer to home that really struck a chord.
After I tell you this story, I am hoping that you will realize that finding the bottle has been a very good thing for us.
It came from a woman who found the message right after the Swissair plane crash off Nova Scotia. She was scouring the waters off Peggy's Cove, looking for signs of disaster. Instead, she found a message of hope.
It was like a pain relief for them, so they really appreciate that, and I was very, very happy.
Louis is sending more messages this spring, opening a window on the world for his students and opening the world to a small Quebec community that holds big dreams in plastic bottles. Heidi Westfield, Global News, Granby.
Breaks my heart that someone would do this to a school.
I saw him as a man.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery.
Look beyond the picket line. There's a woman fighting for what she believes in. Look beyond the layoff. There's a neighbor whose whole world just collapsed. Look beyond the technology. There's a child who will live to see another birthday. At Global, we put a face on every single story because we believe it isn't just a news story, it's your story. Global News, the new generation of news. It's not the whole world. It's your world. It's about who you are and where you're going. It's about bridging gaps, reaching out, asking questions, getting answers. It's about passion, charting new directions, new beginnings. It's about people in your neighborhood, in your community. Global News, the new generation of news.
Do it sex selection.
Magnetic therapy.
Chromosome abnormality.
When it comes to your health, there's so much to know.
Sometimes it's hard to keep up.
The unconventional treatment.
So Global's Janine Phillips follows it for you.
These pills also can cause heat exhaustion. Researchers are finding more risks.
The technologies and treatments, the cures and comforts. She'll help you separate the hope from the hype. Your health on Global. News that's good for you.
I am nice and I am clean. You are dirty and obscene.
Chapters Bookstore is ringing in the new year in fine literary form. An evening of spoken word with a group called the Millennium Cabaret.
1999, getting it started off with a bang.
But even here in this house of words, they can't get it right.
How do you spell millennium? L-M-M-I-L.
It's a source of serious confusion, an enigma that swamps the human mind.
M-I-L-L. Hang on, I need a pen and paper, I don't know.
M-I-L-L-E-N-E-I, I forgot.
A question almost as daunting as the new millennium itself.
It's problematic, isn't it?
It is problematic.
There's another vowel missing. I'm willing to bet that it's another vowel that's missing.
M-I-L-L-I-N. I don't know.
Okay, M-I-L-L-I-M-U-E-N?
It's not as if we've never seen the word before. There's a mountain of millennium out there, from scary TV shows to giant clocks, from millennium playmates to playful candy-coated chocolates.
Hey, Yellow, we're giving away $2 million in honor of the new millennium.
Yeah. But all that doesn't seem to help much when it comes to getting it right.
I don't know, U-M? I don't know.
How is millennium spelled?
Do you have the answer?
We do, and we'll spell it out for you. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-U-M.
I'm Heidi Westfield. When you watch the news, you'll see a lot of stories about politicians and other public figures. But those aren't the only stories worth telling. There are people out there who are making their mark in more unusual ways, and that's what this show's all about.
Here, I'm going to put some...
This half hour, you'll meet a chef who eats insects, two cousins who sing for popcorn, and an inventor who's aiming to end the war of the washroom. We'll also look at monsters as home decoration, catch up with tourists on Taschereau Boulevard, and watch reporter Jeannie Mose try to kill a Furby. But first, the story of a woman with a very familiar face. I caught up with her at Nichols Restaurant in Montreal. She doesn't stop by the family diner too often, but when she does, look out. Get out the camera, get out the kids.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Fans can't believe their good luck. The smile, the telltale giggle, all just a few breathless steps away. And here she is again at the HMV record store to mark the launch of a new CD.
My friend saw her first and she's like, Celine's right here, and I'm her biggest fan. Like, I've got all her albums.
But wait, why is Quebec's reigning music diva cooling her heels at the Cash? Take a closer look. This isn't Celine Dion international superstar, it's Linda Paquette with serious hairspray.
Very surprised. I thought it was her for sure.
She's been turning heads for years. As Celine's star shines brighter, so does Linda's. She plays Celine at fundraisers, marriages, even holds concerts. And of course, there are the autographs to sign.
J'ai pas le droit d'écrire seulement que Céline ou Céline Dion, ce serait une fausse publicité. J'écris quand même Céline pour que les gens se rappellent que oui, c'était comme. Puis en dessous, j'écris que c'est fait comme par Linda.
Other than the name, it's hard to tell them apart. Céline at the Oscars. And here's Linda, a feast of expression at Jimbo's Bar. Linda's met her idol, the real Céline, many times and dreams of spending a whole day with her. Until then, there's always the karaoke machine.
Paquette also holds concerts in and around Montreal for Céline fans who want a taste of almost the real thing. And speaking of talent, our next story is about two cousins who've carved out a real niche for themselves at the movies. They've turned popcorn into performance art, all to get a taste for showbiz.
Stepping out with my baby.
At most theaters, the movie is the main attraction. But here, there's a little more to the show.
Thank you, Joel.
Don't be fooled by the uniforms. Tina and Lorena are artists, poets, who sell their wares with a song.
Don't wait for tomorrow, eat with me when you're hungry.
It's not your average part-time job. Then again, these aren't your average workers.
They're like, you actually do that. You're not shy. You're not embarrassed.
And gutsy and strange. No. J'ai besoin du Coca-Cola.
It's off-Broadway with a crunchy twist.
Whenever we think of popcorn, forget it. We just start writing songs.
We want some candy, yeah.
We enjoy performing. So we thought this was a good opportunity. We thought it was good to start here.
A chance to get a flavor for showbiz, to test their talents on a live and captive audience.
Very funny. Thought they were pretty courageous to go out there and sing in front of that crowd.
Thought they were fantastic. I want to know if they wrote their own song, actually.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they need a little help greasing their creative gears.
Love is adding topping, it's margarine, not butter. So I think I'll have some right now.
It won't win a Grammy, but it could be the road to a bright career.
I'd like to try theater and film and television, everything possible.
Wherever you are.
Until then, the theater is their stage, and popcorn, their air-popped inspiration.
You wanna buy our corn. That's it.
They're not the only ones who get worked up by food. Take Jean-Louis Témy of Montreal. He has a passion for gourmet meals made with insects.
No, it's not enough. It's not enough. Eat my food.
Témy teamed up with Jay Leno this summer. He tried to worm his way into the heart of the U.S. talk show host with some of his famous insect appetizers.
Don't give that to me.
And back home, he rustled up a Témy specialty, spaghetti a la mealworm. We took his prized dish out onto the streets.
It looks like maggots, actually. Is it actually maggots?
Is this okay to have without breakfast?
Oh my, okay. It's like seafood, eh?
You can eat that. Yeah. You want to try it?
I don't think so.
Crunchy.
It's kind of crunchy.
I haven't never seen dead worms being used in gourmet cuisine before.
I've got to say that mealworm spaghetti looks pretty awful. Now, the next lady you'll meet doesn't have a thing for insects. She prefers geese, but she doesn't like to cook them up. She likes to dress them up.
Why fly south for the winter when you've got a winter coat? Birds of a feather? This bird dresses for the weather.
It's just exciting for everyone. Everyone talks about it.
Just give a good spirit for the neighborhood, really.
It's not every day you spot a goose with goggles or skates or a broom. Then again, Joy's part of a special breed.
Well, there's no concrete proof that it's a wild goose, but we do know two things.
And what's that?
She's non-migratory and she wears exquisite plumage.
Exquisite and elaborate. Joy's got more than 350 outfits and a collection of fur coats.
And she has little pillbox hats in the mink to match.
Joan Lunan started making the clothes a couple of years ago. Now her basement's a factory for fowl. Their dresses fit for a Southern belle and a movie set, even one to mark the death of Princess Diana.
And I didn't want her all in black, so I thought the black and white might be more suitable. And it looks like Diana's style.
It's certainly a closet fit for royalty.
I have a raincoat, and I think she has 3. So she outnumbers me, no question.
And there's no end in sight. Joan could always turn her hobby into a business, but she figures it wouldn't be as much fun. And besides, all that fabric could get in the way. Coming up, a toilet for all sexes and getting in shape to a different beat.
A battle of the sexes rages in washrooms across the nation, a battle over the status of the toilet seat. Women like it down, but men insist on leaving it up. Now a couple of inventors from Winnipeg have come up with a solution of sorts. They call it the considerate seat.
Downtown Montreal, there are Christmas carols, street vendors, and a man with a toilet.
That's different.
The man is Tim Senyuk, better known as Toilet Seat Tim. He's hawking a new invention. It's a toilet seat that lowers all by itself.
Who hasn't got trouble from their wife for doing the porcelain splash here? Come on. Anybody? I didn't think so.
I think it's a great invention. I really do.
The concept is fairly simple. It's a network of springs and hydraulics.
No batteries, no plumbing, no electrical, installs like a traditional toilet seat.
You can adjust how fast or slow you want it to go down. The point is, it does go down, all by itself, to rid the world, once and for all, from the pain of the porcelain plunge.
Plop yourself down, waiting to feel the comfort of the toilet seat, whereas you go right into the hard, cold porcelain.
Cynthia Certesini is all too familiar with the problem. She's the mother of 3 sons.
Do you ever leave the seat up?
Sometimes. All the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
It's shocking, especially in the middle of the night when you're half asleep.
Her family's tried the toilet and finds it makes a difference.
I think it's a great thing for the female race.
Tim's sure the seat will be a hot seller.
We believe that there's going to be very large volumes moved.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
In a world flush with inventions, it's a small step for toilets, but a giant relief for womankind. No pun intended.
Now to something else that's going on around town, something that helps shave off those holiday pounds in an alternative way.
It's aerobics with a twist. Daniel Hubbard calls it rage-robics. She's a professional dancer who likes alternative music, so she started a class for people who feel the same way.
It's more hardcore. The music that we listen to is more metal at times, or grind, or techno, industrial.
It's proven to be a hit, attracting a wide range of women and men.
No, I'm not ashamed to say it. I come to rage aerobics, you know. It's great. It's great.
Now from a new way to exercise to a new way to decorate your home. They date back to the days of Pompeii, to ancient Rome and Egypt. And now these little monsters have found a new calling as paperweights, candlesticks, even flower pots. Watch out, IKEA. Here comes Gothic chic. On St. Catherine Street, you'll find Big Macs, hockey shirts, and gargoyles. You know, those maniacal monsters that look like they'd steal your lunch money if they weren't stuck to a church.
I think they're great.
They're wonderful, the gargoyle type things.
But gargoyles aren't just for churches anymore. These days, you'll find them inside, giving homes a certain Gothic appeal. They decorate mirrors, hold candles, even tell the time.
They're different, they're interesting, and they're just sort of like having little creatures all over the place. A lot of them are really beautiful, and they're like little sculptures.
Specialty stores like Excalibur sell these beasts by the bundle. Some the stuff of nightmares, others oozing up Beanie Baby sappiness.
I find the most ugly ones are the cutest, so that's a personal choice, I find.
Some think they ward off evil spirits. Others see them as tortured souls forced to forever atone for their sins. But whatever story they tell, one thing is for sure, they sell.
I find the people, our customers who come here, are very intrigued with all the castles and the stones in Europe, and the gargoyles are a very big part of that, of the medieval times.
Tom Tilden makes gargoyles with partner Jean Lemieux. They started with angels, but it turns out there's more money in these little devils. Demand keeps going up by 30% a year. Now they even export their creations right across the country.
I think it's more basically for decoration. I think people enjoy having a little monster around the house.
For some, there's a certain beauty in the beasts, and they make great card holders. Up next, the inside story on Furby Mania and the mystery of the missing nipples. One of my favorite reporters is Jeannie Most. She works for CNN in New York. She's known for tracking down bizarre hobbies and trends, but some of her best stuff is actually about everyday things we don't pay much attention to, like this next piece on traffic cones.
You may never hear a cone moan, but imagine being mowed down like bowling pins, choked by exhaust fumes, left for dead like roadkill. What's the lifespan of a cone? You call this a life?
Some of them, the very first day you put them out there, could get hit by an 18-wheeler, they're done for.
Others last for 10 years or more. We went to the birthplace of many a cone. Work Area Protection Corporation in St. Charles, Illinois says it's the largest cone manufacturer in the world.
We are the king of cones, yes.
Just call Tom Bednar King Cone.
On a good year, we'll make anywhere from 1.3 to 1.4 million traffic cones.
New York's Lincoln Tunnel, they can't imagine a life BC before cones.
Critical part of our operation. Without them, we'd be lost.
Of course, cones have big relatives and little relatives that range from rubber band rests to door stops. In the newsroom, we use cones to steer traffic away from folks being interviewed. Why, even the president is protected by cones. And next time you're in a cone zone, stay on your toes and keep off theirs. Ginny Mo, CNN, New York.
It's one of the hottest toys this holiday season and one of the hardest to get.
Yes, he does.
They're called Furbies, and they're almost impossible to find in stores. Parents are going to extreme lengths to get their hands on them. They're selling for hundreds of dollars at charity auctions. In North Carolina, 10 women jumped into a ring for the chance to take home the toy. Jeannie Mose has this look at Furby Mania.
Need a toy that thinks fingers are finger-licking good? A toy that toys with you.
Oh, careful.
A toy capable of creating kitty chaos. Furby may not have much sense, but he's got a lot of sensors.
Furby has 7 sensors that you can interact with.
Furby was force-fed finger food, but his favorite kind of chip is computer, according to inventor Dave Hampton.
The technology is about equivalent to the Apple II.
But the FAO Schwartz launch, Furby wasn't the only thing programmed.
And we're going to practice clapping, all right?
Kids came through. And adults were snapping up Furby.
$35.
$35. Why is it so expensive?
From the mouths of babes, what comes out of Furby's mouth is a fantasy language called Furbish.
Hyundai.
He even comes with a Furbish English dictionary and eventually learns English.
That would be like the next step, making actually one that would give birth.
Which reminds us of the movie Gremlins. Notice the resemblance when water was spilled on a gremlin.
Great, thanks a lot.
Sorry. It reproduced. But when we tried water on Furby, all he did was burp. Finally placed him on 8th Avenue, where bicyclists and motorists tried to avoid him, nevertheless. But Furby kept twitching. He's harder to kill than a gremlin. Furby's just tickled not to be roadkill. Ginny Mo, CNN, New York.
Still ahead, taking in the sights of Gasoline Alley and the bare truth about advertising.
It all started with a simple question from someone in our office who noticed that an ad in an department store flyer wasn't all it should be. We all wondered about it, so we started asking some very pointed questions.
Take a look at this picture. Now look again, a little closer this time. What do you see? Or should I say, what don't you see?
There's no nipples.
The nipples.
Yes. Not there, gone.
What, the nipples have been removed?
It's Heidi Westfield calling from Global Television.
We weren't sure what happened to the nipples, so we called the Bay to find out.
We don't see any nipples, and I was wondering why that's the case.
They didn't have any answers for us, so we decided to investigate ourselves. We bought one of the bras in the ad from the Bay. Now it's definitely see-through, so why no nipples in the flyer?
Maybe they don't have any nipples.
It's funny. It looks funny.
The image was changed with the help of people like Robert Monté. He says companies are moving away from this kind of touch-up, but you'll still see it done in more conservative circles.
It doesn't take very long to do.
Sort of an electronic cosmetic.
Yeah, electronic cosmetic surgery.
It's one of the great puzzles of human morality. You see them on catwalks. You see them in museums. They're even used to sell soap. But not here.
Is there any law which prohibits the exposure of nipples in this kind of flyer?
As far as we know, no, and it would be a corporate decision.
I was wondering, why do you think the Bay chose to hide the nipples in this situation?
I do believe the decision was made by the Bay because this is a sensitive area, question of corporate image. They don't want to attract any undue attention.
Would you be offended if you saw nipples?
No.
No.
No, it would be like taking Mona Lisa and then changing it just because it's to modernize it.
Most people we spoke to wouldn't mind seeing the women au naturel, but others agreed with the touch-up.
Would I be offended? I don't know. Yeah, I think I would. If they decided to remove the nipples, they must have had a reason for it if they went to all the trouble of digitally removing them.
Maybe, but you have to keep an open mind. A world without nipples just wouldn't be the same. Just ask Renoir.
Tourists usually come to Quebec to see Old Montreal or go to museums, but there's another destination we don't hear much about, one most of us just drive by. It's beautiful Taschereau Boulevard.
It's called the Eyesore on the South Shore, Gasoline Alley. A place to fill up, maybe, or grab a quick bite. But spend a holiday?
No, because it's a place for traffic to pass through, not to stay there.
It's a city street. Why would anybody want to spend a vacation on a city street?
As it turns out, many people would. People like Mary and Ernie Granger from Boston. They discovered Motel Canada nearly 30 years ago, and they've been smitten ever since.
Do you find it relaxing?
Yes, very much so.
Does the traffic bother you at all?
You tend to tune it out.
Tune it out. This isn't a bad song on the radio.
At night, the traffic dies down. There's no traffic at all at night. There's no traffic whatsoever. You can cross the street walking.
But why cross the street when there's so much to do right here?
Just amazing. The facilities are just ultra luxurious, and whirlpools and wonderful accommodation. People are very friendly.
It's not the most obvious tourist hotspot. In fact, Taschereau's known as one of the ugliest strips of road in all of Canada. But for some at least, the boulevard has a certain industrial charm.
We get a lot of Germans and people from France and my friends from Italy.
Business at the Best Western is up 7% from last year, filled with visitors who can spot a bargain.
The rooms are about 40% at some places less than what you would pay downtown.
It all adds up to a great vacation for Jean-Lucien Bergeron. They're here from the Ottawa area, celebrating 10 years of holidays on the boulevard.
This is the atmosphere, the people, the stores. I enjoy it all.
So you've had many a romantic night here?
With their video that they have, yes, I did.
Sun, laughs, and romance, with a little help from the movie channel.
They call it adults.
An adult video.
Adult videos.
Okay, we're really not going to go there now.
Just hope those diesel fumes don't spoil the mood. to show, paradise comes in all kinds of packages. That's our show for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed our look at Montreal's other side. I'm Heidi Westfield. Have a happy and safe holiday season.
Hi, my name is Tanya. And I'm Christina. And I'm from Anjou. I'm from Saint Michel. And you're watching Mondo Montreal.
Her name is Susan. This is Jennifer, and they're from
Montreal.
And what are they watching?
Mondo Montreal.
Woo! Yeah! Woo!
Heidi!
Bien, bonjour, je m'appelle Renan Leisset, je suis en vacances à Montréal et vous regardez Mondo Montréal.
I'm Linda, and I'm from the far east of Montreal, but I speak English anyway, and you're watching Mondo Montreal.
Hi, my name is Christian from downtown Montreal, and I'm watching Mondo Montreal.
We're freezing out here.
Hi, my name is Sully Chan, and it's very cold, and I'm from Côte des Neiges, and you're watching Mondo Montreal.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm from Beaconsfield.
I'm Mike,
And I'm Mel.
and we're watching Mondo Montreal.
And Heidi rocks.